day all. Ira Epstein of Linn and Associates with your weekend edition of your metal update, and this is for Friday the 27th of September 2019. If you were to ask me, was the gold and the silver on a week where we had impeachments and so on going to be down, I'd have never said they're going to be down. So much for thinking. Dollar very strong at 98.76. But let's talk about the events that have gone on. Impeachment. Inquiry going on. Today, late in the afternoon, Secretary of State Pompeo subpoenaed. The U.S. comes out today and says they're seriously considering, in the White House, there's discussions going on about delisting Chinese stocks that are on the U.S. stock exchanges. They're talking about not putting money into via pension plans into Chinese stocks abroad. Okay, does this sound like the stuff that come October 10th are going to make for a positive meeting between China and the U.S. as the next trade meetings get going? You wouldn't think so, would you? Would you think the stock market wouldn't fall out of bed with impeachment? Would you think gold wouldn't be running to the upside? Well, I got to tell you, for the week, and I just told you everything that happened this week, you're down $24. Could it be that the market, because it's over the upper Bollinger Band, got ahead of itself on a monthly chart and wants to pull back? Guess where it settled for the first time? Since the breakout on the monthly chart, we've been staying over the upper Bollinger Band. I count each consecutive close as one of the 5 percentage points, as a rule of thumb, of the times you'll stay over or under a Bollinger Band. The theory in part of the Bollinger Band is the market will stay within the black bands 95% of the time. Well, what about that other 5? I came up with that. It's a warning sign that buying the market up there, you might be in a little bit of trouble. You might be able to get back into those bands. And that's basically what happened with the market down $24 so far for the month. That's all that it is. The month's not over. It ends Monday. On the weekly chart, we've gone from the 1526 area back to a close of 1499. In all fairness, it's only a $25, $26 drop or so. It's not a big deal. The bias is still up. The question is, how deep is this break? Because I can't think of more bullish things to throw out. We had a market that saw the Saudis attacked on the week of the 14th. We've seen now impeachment. We've seen what I just said about China, and the market isn't going. I'm not crying. I'm just explaining what's going on. When you take a look at this action, if you get under these numbers, it is not going to be pretty. The last break low we had was right here at 1484. If this market takes that out, it joins in part of the seasonals as we drop off at this time of the year until we get a little later into October. So you got to be careful there. Are we trending? We're not. This market stepped out of its uptrend right here this week of September 13th. Yes, we had the week after where the market came back on the Saudi attack. You know, if you think about it, we should have been higher than that. You're losing all that world supply of oil, and now the market backing off again. So if you take out 1484, what happens is you'll have lower highs, then a lower low. Where's the 18-day week average of closes? Not day, 18-week. That number's 1442 right now, and it's moving at the tune of about, as you can see here, about $12 at a shot. If that happens, we're probably going to be up at the 1450 area this coming week, taking out 1484. That could be the number, if that occurs, that the market decides to make a run for. What about Bollinger Bands? Well, we got over them quite a bit here. Then we pulled back into them, just as the theory goes, and you've been peaking out. What about momentum? Down. This is a real problem. Momentum often leads price. Doesn't always. I don't know anything on a chart that always happens. But most of the time, momentum will lead price. It's pointing down. The bias is up, and you've stepped out of an uptrend. In GLD, this is still bullish. the market still has the pattern of higher lows and higher highs. Now you break that pattern if you take out 139.81. You step out of the uptrend because you would then possibly have that lower high, lower low scenario. Momentum here turned down on you. It's turned down really before price has done that. It started turning down. It faltered just last week and it turned down this week. Now if you take that out, I'm looking for these numbers back here. See if that happens. What about GDX? Not in a trend. You got a higher high, lower low, and you've had it. Momentum still pointing down in the chart. I will be very unsurprised if the market doesn't hit 26.76 and just goes up. I will admit I'll come on and say, boy, that one took me for a surprise. I'm looking for a backup. Doesn't mean, I don't see a trend. That's the problem. You have nothing. So this waving back and forth is the problem. The gold-silver ratio still favors the silver over the gold on the longer weekly chart. The lower these numbers go, the less silver you need to buy an ounce of gold. The daily looks different, and silver got terribly hit today, completely stepped out of its uptrend. Now you've got lower highs, lower low, outside week down, momentum down. That does not mean the trend is down. Why? Because you're still over the 18-week average and the bias is up. Therefore, the market, it's fighting itself on many different angles. It's certainly out of the uptrend, but the bias is up and momentum down. Copper market, when you hit the Bollinger Band back here, I want to come to that. There we go. First challenge of it, just like back here or hitting the upside, often hits a zone in copper. Each market's a little bit different, but in copper, down here, and then it comes back at you like that, something else is going on. Why don't you follow through? We're hearing all these bad things about U.S.-Chinese trade. If you saw the Chinese beige book this week, it looked terrible. And copper for the week up 75 cents. Well, 3/4 of a cent, I should say it differently than that. I don't see a trend right there. Platinum, higher lows, yeah, but lower highs. And now you took out this low. So the reality, it looks to you visually. I want to take this there. Look at this low. You now took it out. Lower high, lower low. Out of the uptrend, downtrend on the swing line. But the momentum via the bias is up and momentum is down. Again, you have a mess on your hand in this chart. In the palladium, this has been the runaway. And if you're watching my dailies, I keep telling you, the daily charts have that embedded reading, and it's been a son of a gun for this market. Here you are finishing at 1652, but you're at an upper Bollinger Band. That's often, on an area like that, a resistance point. Can you run it? You certainly can. Momentum is still up, so it's not backed off. And it's been on a vertical price rise since prices were right here at $14.05. You've gone up $266 or so without much of a correction. Do you even see a lower low week? I'm just giving warning here. As bullish as the market is, generally you start getting against the Bollinger Band a little bit of a correction. That's what I'm looking at. I'll discover all this and a heck of a lot more come Monday morning. What I do on the mornings, but let me tell you my work day. I typically get up 4:35 a.m. Central Time, and I read. Have my coffee in the morning, I start reading. And the whole thing I'm doing is I'm getting ready to prepare a morning subscriber video. In this video, what I do is I'm going to have you question your own trade selection along with me. I'm going to look at the markets, and I'm looking at them fresh with you, and we're saying, what do we see? Here's a trade that might hold. This is not about day trading. I want to make this ultra clear. Yes, it's more about swing trading. A swing trade, when you get in them, can last a week, 2 weeks. This is the futures market. This is not a stock market. It changes, and the volatility gets very, very great, and you take advantage, if you can, of the mixture of the volatility and the leverage futures offer, which is typically in the 90% area. But that can work against you. Leverage is a two-edged sword. When market's going your way, there's nothing like it. I think if you've had these winning trades, you know what I'm saying. But when you start fighting the market, or the market doesn't go the way you're thinking, you better have an exit point. You better know money management, know what you're getting into before you do it, and that's where I try to bring to you a trade discipline in the morning. So we're going to cover 45 charts. We're going to do it in a very certain way each and every time. The charts are going to look just like this. I'm not in it, obviously. You don't want to see me in my robe. And as we're going through all this, I'll go through the sections like this. You have a bar on the bottom, you slide. You've all watched videos and so on. And as you're sliding it, these names are going to fire up for you. So if you want to get to the metals section, just slide to the metals fire up. Can't be easier. Let's assume that's too difficult. There'll be a sidebar right over here on your screen as well. Hit metals. You'll go right to the metals section. Why do I do it that way? Time is of the essence, and maybe you don't care about currencies or interest rate futures. Everybody's got a different thing. Maybe you just want the energy market. It's there. The typical video, beginning to end, is 15 to 20 minutes. It's detailed. I'm going to be very detailed in it. It's $7.95 for 30 days. After that, if you decide to stay with it, it goes to $15. If that's too much, you can buy a 1-year prepaid subscription for $156. Now understand, one tick in gold is $10. You're going to get 30 days of this basically for less than that. I think it's not worth talking about if you're a serious analyst and you want to learn more about charting. How do you get to it? IraEpstein.com, go to the word research, morning subscriber video, or click up here. Do me one favor, and I do have a favor to ask. Tell your friends about these videos. That's what keeps them going, the viewership, and I like doing them. October's coming as well. You know we're going to start holding live webinars soon. So my subscribers will be the first people into those, not the public. You have a good day. I'm Ira Epstein.